Welcome, folks, to the Selectmen's meeting for November 7th, 2013. First on the agenda is to amend and approve the minutes from October 17th. Can I take a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion on those minutes?
I have none.
No.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, John, just to let you know, the chief is out on
Call.
emergency motor vehicle accident, won't be intervening.
Okay.
Thanks. I did see.
Would you like to be moved to the end if you get back in time? If you can swing in, great. We'll try to accommodate him, of course.
Great, thank you.
All right.
I
Sorry?
saw that ambulance heading up the road.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Passed me at the town line.
By where?
The town line, Bartlett.
Oh, okay.
16 as it was heading north.
Next on the agenda, the action items. Bills on for the fire and burglar alarms. Info from the LGC. There you go, buddy. Sorry.
I'm trying to see what.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yes, we spent
Keep that
spent time with the chief and came up, he said the issue that they had been doing and it has been working is the thing that is not new to anyone, and that is that it has to do with trying to obviously reduce the false alarms and maintenance of the systems and all that. And it's you get 2 free ones, and the next one is $100, and anything after that is $100. So he would propose that we continue that process. He thinks it's working until there's something else that says we need to do something different. So that's his proposal. Senate, and I obviously can't support that if that seems to sound like it'll work. And he said he has not had a problem collecting the money.
This is Carl.
Yes, the chief.
Wow. I have no problem with that. It's working for him.
Yeah.
Okay, and then as far as I'm concerned, that would resolve that issue, at least pending some new question that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And unless we hear from them, there won't be any new pending issue.
Okay.
Right?
Right, I guess.
Sounds like, yeah, good.
Okay.
Dog licenses.
Dog licenses. I want to first apologize to anyone who I gave the wrong information to, who says that I haven't answered the questions, I haven't done the right thing about the dogs. And the animal control officers are with us, so if I make a mistake this time, you're welcome to tell me what it is. But 2 things that came in this job, as you know, there's all kinds of things that you get kind of lots of opinions. But one of them was, don't respond to anonymous letters. Don't respond to any more anonymous letters. That's called the burying process.
That was my fault.
What doesn't matter? It's no fault. It's just that's me. I'm
It's
only speaking for me.
It should be a policy of the board, though.
Yeah,
It really
yeah,
should.
but I'm only speaking for me. That's all. But anyway, I accept any information. I don't care whether it's anonymous or not. I'll take all the information I can get to operate the process correctly. But if I get a letter that's anonymous, I'm only speaking for me, that I won't try to respond to anonymous requests. But will I take the information and try to make it work better? Certainly. Okay? So I make that apology. And this all comes, I guess, around the dogs. So I'm trying to do this, But anyway, evidently the question continues that someone said that, Bill Lockard didn't answer the questions, and so they're still out there, and I'm trying to resolve that. And I would ask, if we come to additional questions, I'm only talking about the dogs now, is to put them down specifically what you want rather than a 2-page letter, something that, we've tried to decipher. But the specific questions I didn't do, I'd love to try to resolve it. The thing that I take, and this is, I'm open for advice anywhere, but you all were at the public meeting when I stood up and took an oath of office. You support the Constitution of the United States. You support the state of New Hampshire. You support the town of Jackson. And to the extent I can, even people's requests to try to maintain that process. But it becomes a fiduciary responsibility. It's a higher responsibility than a person walking down the street. And I accepted that. And so what I want to do is talk about this thing, is there is a law regarding the animal business. And so I'm going to read the law. I don't want anybody to misinterpret where we are. If I misread the law, you can let me know. It's really short. I can do it. Every owner or keeper of a dog 4 months old or over shall annually cause to be registered, numbered, described, and licensed for 1 year at the office of the clerk of the city, town of Jackson, in which the dog is to be kept, and shall cause to wear around the neck on a collar, which shall be attached a metal tag with the following information: the name of the city of the town, year of the issue of the license, and its registered number. The tag and license shall be furnished by the clerk at the expense of the city and town, regardless of when the license is obtained. The license shall be effective May 1 each year through April 30th of the subsequent year. Before the license is issued, under the provisions of the subdivision, the owner or keeper of the dog shall furnish to the clerk verification from a licensed veterinarian that the dog has been vaccinated against rabies in accordance with the provisions of the RSA 436. Persons applying for a group license under that shall also furnish to the clerk verification from a licensed veterinarian that all the dogs have been vaccinated against rabies in accordance with RSA 436. And it talks about the rabies certificate against that. But authorization to issue the license, the town or city clerk may authorize a local law enforcement officer to issue licenses and collect license fees pursuant to RSA 466.4 for the purpose of this section. A local law enforcement officer means the local police department of the city or town, the dog officer in the city or town, or the humane society which performs the animal control function as may be designed or designated by the local body. The town or city clerk shall determine the criteria and for the receipt of funds for the record keeping. Now, so our issue is, and it talks about different licensing, but the bottom line is people didn't license their dog. They haven't done that. So it says the town or city clerk shall annually between June 1 and June 20th present to the local governing body a list of those owners. We're the local governing body. They presented the list. We didn't create the list. The list was printed by the tax collector and said the owners of the dogs have failed to license or not renewed their dog license pursuant to 466.1. The local governing body shall within 20 days of this June 20th issue a warrant to a local official authorized used in a civil forfeiture of each unlicensed dog. So that's the civil forfeiture, meaning you give up your dog. The warrant may also authorize the local law enforcement officer to seize any unlicensed dog. The civil forfeiture may be sent by certified mail, delivered by hand, and sent to the dog owner. The cost of the service shall not exceed, that's $5 to mail a letter. The cost of service shall not exceed the $5 and may be recovered by the city or town in addition to the amount of the forfeiture. If the unlicensed dog is seized, it shall be held in the town or city holding facility for a period of 7 days, after which time full title to the dog passes to the facility, unless the owner of the dog has, before the expiration, caused the dog to be licensed. The owner shall pay the facility the necessary and reasonable sum per day as agreed upon by the governing body, city, town, and the facility for where the dog has been kept and maintained by the facility, plus any necessary veterinary fees incurred by the facility for the benefit of the dog. Before the dog, it talks about some other details. But in going through this licensing process, and the tax collector brought it to ours, as the tax collector brings to us property tax people that don't pay their property tax. Come in and says there's 3 people that haven't paid their property tax. So the governing body has to come up with some way to collect that tax. That's our job. We got to do that. It's a fiduciary responsibility that we collect that money. It happens to be property tax, so everybody kind of understands that. In this case, we're talking about dog tax, and it's a little bit different. But if there's a welfare requirement in the state that if somebody comes to this door and says, my name's, I hate to use somebody's name, it's Maple Brown or whatever.
Yeah, don't use it.
And I have 6 kids, I need a place to sleep, and I need something to eat. The town of Jackson must supply that request. They must supply it. And you say, well, I don't have any money. You can't use that excuse. You have to get the money. You have to go somewhere and drag it in. I'll go to the school account and I'll take it out of the public school. It has to have the money. You can't not do it. So, and it's a fiduciary responsibility to do that. The town has liabilities if they don't do that. So here's the question. The dogs, and why I take the thing seriously is because it's essentially a rule of law. If you agreed to these laws, I didn't make them, but we all agreed to these laws. We said, even though there's some you may not agree with ultimately, but the point is conceptually we agreed to the laws. So we have sent 2 letters and 2 phone calls to each person that has an unlicensed dog. So we tried to do it. Then the animal control officer also went to some of them. We didn't get them all, but went to some of them. And thus we come to this, hopefully some resolution, is, first of all, the obvious purpose of this is this rabies thing. I mean, there is no really other person. You don't want a dog running around in town that may not have a rabies shot and may bite some kid and all that. In addition, there is a responsibility on our part to respect the people that paid their fees and say, why did we let a whole bunch of people not pay them until the other people will accept your money? It's because it's a rule of law. The rule of law is we've agreed to these laws. If you don't want to agree to the laws, you can move out of town and you don't have to do anything. But they're here, and this is what the issue is. So the matter, here's my question, and this may be a legal matter, and I don't know that for sure. But it's very emotional, evidently, very emotional about whatever, and I'm hoping to try to get through this. But I'm willing to wait. This is where we left it, I think, last time. Willing to wait till the town meeting. And in the town meeting, we can ask. If you all really don't want to license the dog, you can say, I'm not sure what you can say, but my point is the town can make the decision. We're not going to license any, I guess they can, I don't know. We're not going to license any dogs. We're going to do it anymore. So we're going to deal with it. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But what you burdened, and I'm usually me, I'm not speaking for everybody else, I'm speaking for me, is we have a licensing requirement, and basically I've taken an oath to enforce this. So it means that theoretically or actually we go take the dogs. And if and I'm sure people don't like it, I don't like it. It's like taxes. I don't want to go, take taxes off of somebody who can't afford them. But I didn't make the law. And it's a fiduciary responsibility to resolve it. So I'm going to guess, and I've talked to the chief of police, and we said, how could we maybe make this happen by warrants and go do it? He estimates, or we estimate, I guess, that if we had $5,000 in a warrant at town meeting, that money with him and the collection and all that, we could probably resolve, we think, the 28 dogs that are unlicensed. And I know the question is, why don't they just go to license their dog? We tried all that, and nothing's happened. So I'm open for suggestions, but I'm trying to get this to go away. And we thought we had it going away a couple of meetings ago, and then somebody wrote a letter, I didn't do my job, so I'm trying to figure out how to do this. But there is a fiduciary responsibility to solve this problem. So I'm saying, at this point, I'm willing to wait until town meeting and see where it goes. If that is a resolution that's acceptable, I'm ready to do that. That's all I have on dog license. Yes, ma'am?
I didn't know if I could ask a question or not.
You can ask any question.
Is this a New Hampshire state law or?
That's the New Hampshire
So
state
you
law I
can't
read to
move
you.
out of town. I mean,
Well, if you live in another town, it's not my problem.
then it becomes.
You can do something else. So yes, it's a New Hampshire law. I read you New Hampshire law.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
So, but if you move out of town, it's not our problem.
I get you. It's
Okay.
still somebody else's problem.
Well, somebody's going to have to do something. But anyway, but because we're the town, sort of, we're obligated to try to do something about this. And I'm just trying to clarify that I didn't do my job, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get to the point where we can kind of do it somewhere.
So a dog license is what, about $7?
$6.50.
And what?
$6.50.
$6.50. So $7 to round it up times 28 dogs is $200.
Right.
We're going to spend $5,000 to
Does
get
that
200.
make sense?
No. I don't think any of it makes sense. But it's a rule of law. You have an obligation to do it.
You have to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
And
What have we, well, 2 questions. What do other towns do? Because certainly opportunity at that point to impose a penalty for them having to deal with an unlicensed dog. So why did we ever get an animal control officer? Why didn't we just continue on with what we've been doing for the entire history of Jackson?
One of the reasons, before Bill starts, one of the reasons is that we were having problems with the person that we did contract with. They weren't showing up on a regular basis. It was hard to get a hold of them. They lived in Conway, and by the time they got here, that was one of the main issues that kind of moved the dog officer forward at that point.
But we've always had an animal control officer.
Right.
Through the years, we've always had one.
Yes, we've contracted with Betty Homes.
That's
correct.
As do many other towns in the valley.
That's right.
Correct.
And have we reached out to the other towns to find out their response and how they've dealt with it? Have they gotten response
With enforcing the law,
with Betty Homes and support from them? Why is Jackson not getting her support?
Jackson's not the only town, when we looked into it, that was having difficulty getting the animal control officer to respond. And it seemed to us like part of it was that that particular person was really stretched. And so, because we had an opportunity to get somebody local that would be able to respond, we took advantage of it.
And we had taxpayer money to do so.
We've always had a $500 stipend every year for the animal control officer.
That was the same monies that we had for Betty.
Yeah.
But now we're asking for 5,000.
Well, that would be a warrant article proposed, a proposal for that.
So have we looked at other towns and what they have done that cannot afford an animal control officer? Do they just send out notices and have people come down, register their dogs? For those who don't register them, they let it go, and then if there is an issue, they penalize them at that point?
Let me say that there's been a lot of discussion about what everybody else does. And I appreciate your comment. I think it's very fine, but the rule of law says that because somebody else lets their dogs run loose and no rabies shot is not what we want to do in Jackson if we accept the rule of law. Now, and that's something we can discuss in the meeting. If people say, we don't want to do anything, I'm going to serve the public of Jackson. I'll do the best I can to make all that work. But I can tell you there are a whole lot of communities that don't license their dogs. That probably do. But there may be communities that don't provide welfare for people to walk in the front door. But if you get caught, it's not the rule of law. You have decided on the rule of law. You have decided this law. I didn't make it. And to say we're not going to do it is inappropriate. Either that or we change the law. I'm open for anything.
Denise?
I may be coming into this late, in fact, I am coming into this late because I don't attend every selectmen meeting. Is it a viable alternative to take that money's owed and tack it onto the tax bill? Does that handle the problem?
They have to get it, they have to get a vet, certificate. I mean, that's
So
a,
they have to come in and prove they have, but most of those dogs have never been licensed, is that what you're saying? Because once that information is on record, you don't have to keep proving it every year, except for the rabies piece, right? Every 3 years, right?
Whatever the rabies is,
Yeah.
that's correct. I will answer it this way, is that we've talked about all kinds of methods to get this done. And we can, when they come in to pay their property tax, if they actually come in, we can say, oh, it shows here you have a dog, you want to pay your sick. There's all kinds of things we can do. But we now have 28 dogs that aren't registered, who don't want to do it. Now, I will say this. We don't actually know that there are 28 dogs. Some may have died. We don't know.
They're not telling us so.
Well, they're not saying anything in the letter. They didn't say, I'm sorry, my dog is dead.
Yeah.
They didn't do any of that. So we're
might
assuming
be
we
50
got-
dogs.
It might be 50 by now. I don't know. And it is an emotional issue. Let me tell you, there have been a lot of emotion about Bill Lockard, taking this thing on, but it is a rule of law. And I don't have respect for the community that doesn't do it. It's this community, and you've appointed me. That's not true. I volunteered for this job. However, it has a fiduciary responsibility with it. And I'm not any different than the welfare, the taxes, property taxes, automobile taxes. If I told you I'm going to let you off, and you don't have to pay automobile tax here, because you just don't want to pay it, nobody here is going to approve that. It's not going to happen.
we also have a fiduciary responsibility to manage our taxes and our money and keep our taxes low.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But we're hiring another town employee that we're now trying to increase the budget for that on the warrant article in March,
Okay,
If it's approved,
if it's approved.
if it's approved. If it's not approved,
then
then
it's a wash.
it's a wash.
It's done.
We haven't come together and decided that we're going to put a warrant article on the town. So I think a lot of that's premature, the amount's premature. I think what we've had is a philosophical discussion about, well, once you know that you're obligated to fulfill a law, and it's clear and it's a matter of public record because it's been discussed in a meeting, is it okay to ignore that law? And when you decide you are going to ignore a law, and something bad happens as a result of ignoring that law, then what happens? Have we opened up our town to a liability issue because people don't want to adhere to a law they don't believe in, that we know about, and we've decided to just ignore because some people don't like it? And we've had those discussions, and I'm not framing this up like it's cut and dry. There's a philosophical piece there that we need to reconcile and come together on. I don't know that, we have yet, but it's not an easy issue.
It seems as though the town, by sending out notices in the mail, that the town itself has done due diligence in notifying these people that they need to register their dogs. It's the law, and the onus is on them.
Well, I wouldn't agree to that at all until I had a town council back that up at X amount of dollars per hour to do some research and come back to us with a position that we end up spending $700 on to figure out that the answer may be, no, you haven't. I mean, anybody can sue anybody for anything, and the three of us are painfully aware of that, okay? So it really wouldn't matter even about a legal counsel's opinion at this point, much less a citizen's opinion, because regardless, we could end up with a lawsuit.
Let me just address your question about the onus is on them to come in, right? Well, what if her tax didn't want to pay her property tax? And I sent her a letter, sent her 2 letters, sent her 2 phone calls. Is it just on her whether she wants to pay or not?
I don't think that's a fair comparison.
It's exactly the same comparison. It's the rule of law. It's the rule of law. You can't pick and choose which law you don't like.
Yeah.
You can't do it. I can't.
There are a lot of laws, and I haven't researched them, but there's certainly thousands of laws in the books in terms of state, federal, that,
Blue laws.
is that what they're called?
Well,
Yeah, sure.
People choose to ignore, are outdated, don't apply anymore.
You don't pick up every speeder that goes down Route 16 in front of you. It's obvious. So you're not going to get everybody.
Yeah.
I know, but yeah, I think maybe a warrant article, maybe where we're going. We're going to be kicking up the bill to $5,000 from 500. If this is what people want to do.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nance?
Yes, ma'am, I'm
Nance?
sorry.
I had a question. I'm also coming in late to this, and I'm just curious. I've been an employee, I've been a subcontractor, and I think the fair and respectful thing to do is let someone know if they're not doing their job, if they're not working up to your standard, or not doing what you expect them to do. Did the board talk personally to Betty Holmes to convey what the concerns were, what the problems were, why the relationship wasn't working?
I don't know that.
I believe one of the other board members had that conversation with her personally. I don't think the whole board did, though.
She came to the
So nothing, she didn't come back and say, I can take corrective action, I didn't realize I wasn't meeting your goals, there was,
I was not present at the conversation, so I can't say what was said. I believe another board member at the time did.
And that still doesn't really handle the owners who are not paying their licenses,
Doesn't.
Right.
which is the bottom.
Because then you have to get the police involved. The animal control officer, as far as I know, we have to issue a warrant articles to solve that, delivered by the police. So I don't want to take people's dogs either. I don't, it's a can of worms. But I appreciate your opinion about, well, let's ignore the law we don't like. But I'm sorry, but when you told me to take this oath in front of you, you were, I don't know whether you were there or not, but you take the oath, and it says, I can't pick and choose which law I like and which law I don't like.
Well, Bob, I wrote you a letter concerning the 911 addresses.
Yeah.
Is that a law, statute, RSA, I don't know? I mean, is that one that the town has chosen to ignore?
Well, it's not like we willfully ignored the whole dog licensing thing, but then it was brought to our attention that there was a law in the books that we weren't addressing effectively. And so you can actually go onto the town's website and see spelled out the whole requirement for a 911 numbering system. And it's on our agenda tonight under new business, because when you brought that up, it's the same example in my mind. It's like, I don't know if it's okay, but sometimes you say, well, I don't know about that, and then once you do know, you can't say that anymore. So we're going to have a discussion about that tonight. And I think we'll probably hire somebody for $5,000 to fix all the signs in town.
Right.
Spend 3 hours talking about it at the town meeting in March. But it's another issue. It's like, well, now we are aware of that. We weren't made aware of that earlier. I mean, the numbering system went up, I don't know, mid-2000s at some point, 05, 06, something like that. And maybe it wasn't completely done. We need to get to the bottom of that and figure out a way to do that so that we're serving the residents of this town in a responsible way. And you're right, Penny, there might be 5, 6 other laws out there that we're not enforcing like we're supposed to be. 5, 6 doesn't, for all I know. But these are 2 that we do know about, and so now we've got a bit of an obligation to kind of see this through and try and figure out a way to adhere to the laws to the best of our ability. And like Bill says, it's, ultimately it's up to the will of the voters. I mean, I'll be the first one to say that if the majority of the people in this town don't want us to enforce dog licensing, then at least I'll know what the will of the Jackson voters are. Does that infringe on other people's rights to know that they should have a feeling to be able to walk around on the streets and feel safe and not get bitten by a rabid, loose dog? There are a lot of other things that need to be considered here. What are the odds of that anyway? Well, the problem is those odds exist, and now we know we've got a responsibility to deal with that. So.
I thought we'd put this to bed 2 or 3 meetings ago, and then the person said Lockhart hasn't done his job. So I'm back here trying to do my job again. Now, if I get another letter next week that you still haven't done your job, I'll probably be back here again trying to resolve it. I'm trying to resolve the issue.
So, and I know, Penny, you and I have talked about this a couple of different times, so I'm wondering but can you shed light on why someone would be unwilling to have their dog licensed for $650? Because I'm not sure that I've gotten a good enough handle on why someone would not want to do that.
No,
Okay.
I can't. It's my concern is the taxpayer expense.
Right.
The fact that we had this tiny town
Yeah.
has a animal control officer. And Lauren and I have spoken, I think she understands that it's nothing personal between Lauren and myself. I'm coming at it from a taxpayer perspective. I am also concerned about animal control officer, because there has been talk about, sending them down, approaching people's houses, and knocking on doors. And I think that's a really bad idea. I think that's a risk that is needlessly being taken. It's, I don't know, a reward bird thing, somebody wandering around onto a property that has unleashed dogs on site, it's a safety issue. Knocking on somebody's door uninvited onto a property, that's a safety issue.
Well, you can rest assured that these liability issues have us with taxpayer concerns also.
Want to go to fire ponds? Anybody else have any questions for me about dogs?
Go right ahead.
Question came up, and I don't remember who was here. I don't think any of you all were here at the time, but the question came up about fire ponds. I couldn't answer it. I have a report now on all the fire ponds, and it certainly would be available through Julie if you would like to have it. I'm not sure that, you're willing to look at it here. it came up because of how many fire ponds do we have, and the list is here, and how it works, and all the dry hydrants, and everything's there, and what the kind of the authority of the fire department. I'll be glad to go through it if anybody has a specific question. Otherwise, Julie will have the report if you'd like to look at it.
And before I hand that out to anyone, Jay hasn't done his final view of this, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to
okay.
do that first.
It's
Okay.
draft form.
Okay, that's my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Bob?
Whitney's Pond listed as?
It's listed as very important, and they work on it, was the check mark here.
It's a fire pond?
It has an asterisk here, so I don't know what the asterisk means.
It
but-
is used as a fire pond. It is a water source for that upper area. He said it's the primary pond for that upper area. That's Jay's business. And they have done work on it.
It was built for a swimming pool.
Right, it's private.
I will say that to help understand this, obviously the fire department can take water from any source. So anytime there's a problem, I mean, they could actually go anywhere and take water. But the fire pond has more water in it than the creek, so it's, that's what they depend on. But they can take Mirror Lake water, they can take down here, they can take the stream water, they take any water to fight a fire. They become the control of the water at that point.
Bill Whitney built that pond, I don't know, early 50s maybe.
Early 50s.
And he had two major structure fires there, and that pond wasn't used on either one. So it's pretty hard to say that was built for fire pond.
Did they use it for the fire last year?
Last year, yeah.
Yes.
But he had two major structures. They burnt that house that they had for the health there, that was right opposite the bridge going to Brookside.
Yeah, the carriage house there.
That burnt twice, and one of those fires was a barn attached to the shovel handle, which is almost as big as that.
Mm.
And that went right along with it. And neither one of those fires did they use the swimming pool.
Mm.
Because they didn't have to plow out for one of them, and I don't remember the other one, but we trucked all the wire and used a portable pond on that second one.
Wow.
And I don't think that Whitney's Pond is anything you want to get into, because that dam is pretty feeble.
Yeah, that's
And I think the town has spent enough money on that already. That was supposed to be a three-way split, but that seems to go on by the wayside.
It's my opinion, I hate to say this without Jay really knowing, but as far as I know, there is no intent to spend any more money on that pond at this point. It would have to be approved here to do it. So as far as I know, there's no money planned to be spent on that pond.
Well, they were surveying it today, so I don't know what that's all about. But
Well, they have
it's not
this,
coming out of our pocket.
yeah, they had the letter that they're working with the Department of Environmental stuff to, fix it up, but there's no bill to us over this. As far as I know, I don't think so.
It's been approved for us. So it's private if it's being done.
I hope it's private fees.
We'll keep an eye on it for you. We'll try. Anything else? Okay. Julie, you had a couple things? You said you got us a meeting with Gene with for the end of the year meeting for the transfer stations, December 5th at 3:30. Can we get that date?
That one actually, I was told you guys came up with that date at your meeting on the other day when you guys were all at the ambulance meeting. Brenda said that that was the date.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't write it down.
Oh, okay.
Asked Jeff at DS about notifications on Whitney's Pond, and I was supposed to attend the meeting, but they already had it, so anything else on that came with it? Yep. And asked Jay about the fire ponds, we already had that brought up, so we're good there. Anything else?
December 5th is just an hour before our normal meeting.
Right. That's right, now I remember. All right, lost my agenda. All right, public comments, I guess, next. Yes, B.
I have two questions.
Shoot.
In the telephone book, most of the towns, surrounding towns, and they used to do it in Jackson, they have Jackson Town, and you've got the station.
Right, they don't have that?
They do not have it. Now, if someone wants to ask the police department a question, they shouldn't have to dial 911
No.
to go to Concord. So I think the town garage, and it should be listed, town of Jackson, and the different departments.
Gotcha.
And what's going on at the falls?
Falls, I went up there, I saw they've done some work. I haven't looked at,
What's going on?
the Conservation Committee is supposed to be doing it.
What are we putting up a fence?
I think they're redoing the log retaining wall there. It's one of the projects.
But I see we have some stone steps.
They put some stone steps, they're trying to corral people to go down the same area so they don't walk over the blueberry bushes and stuff.
Good luck, because it'll be very slippery, but good luck.
They got over 2 steps, they better put a rail in. Because that's on your lawn, too, somewhere.
I'm sure it is.
I'll take any advice.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, AMC would be a good consultant with that, with all the trail work that they do, regarding
Steps.
stone steps
You know
and,
what I'm saying, stone steps is slippery.
yes, and railings and whatnot, and I could, happy to be a go-between there.
The work that's going on up there is a result of the soil environmentalists that came up and came in as a consultant to the Conservation Commission to make a recommendation on how to preserve those falls. We've got some issues up there with roots that are being tramped on and impacting the health of the trees and some other things. And so he came up and took a look at it. I think the bill that they paid on that work, Conservation Commission, was like $800 or something, and he came up with a 3 to 5 year strategic plan recommendation on steps to take up there to kind of preserve the falls and limit access to the falls by channeling people down a smaller number of trails so that they weren't tramping all over roots and things like that. So. But that's the first I've heard that 2 steps, because that was his recommendation.
That
I'll
is a
certainly,
law.
That's the law.
I'll
Up here,
be happy.
This guy, his bestest friend, he was helping after fire. He slipped on the ice steps, it had like 4 steps, it had no railing. And he sued that guy.
like I said, I'll be happy to look into that.
It went on for about 2 years, and finally they had a meeting of the lines, and they went up to look at his house on Jackson Highlands. And he had about 15 stairs with no railing. Case dismissed.
I have no idea what the law is on that, so I'll be happy to look into that. Find out from the guy that made the report and made the recommendation.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Oh, bridges? Let's see, last on the public comments. Bert, do you have something on the bridges there?
There's just Rawlings Bridge.
Yeah, that was.
That's where it's right, right.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one where they were denying a building permit because it didn't have frontage on town road, the RSA, so they went and they.
Up by Dundee? Is it up by?
Yeah, Black Mountain Road. right?
Yep.
Black Mountain Road.
I know what you mean.
And anyway, they got a appeal from the zoning board and the zoning board put stipulations that they design a bridge to certain standards so emergency vehicles and whatnot can go over the bridge safely and certain width requirements.
Mhm.
They've now submitted plans for the bridge. So I think the question was, do they pay for the design review services of those plans, of the bridge? It's kind of a little bit unusual situation, you know.
It's their bridge, not mine.
Your fire truck's going over, right?
Who is this?
Yeah.
If they have a fire, the truck will never go over the pump and put hose. Do you think they're going over Johnny Ice Bridge? I doubt it. They'll pump out of the brook and put the hose up. see it.
So, what's the cost for reviewing those plans? You know?
I spoke with Robert Dare, structural engineer. That's why I would essentially send it to him to review it. Before $500 for him to review the bridge plans. And there's a little bit of my time in there too as well.
Mhm. You know, and they want us to pay for this, or so?
No, I guess that was my question, was I assumed they would be the ones that paid for it, but I didn't want to tell them they had to pay for it. I was speaking out of line.
Thought on that?
Is this, are we on an agenda item or is this public comments?
Just kind of, it's really kind of, Burgess showed up and I threw him into
Yeah.
public comments, but I didn't want to keep him.
Yeah, well, I saw the email that came around, I'm certainly of the opinion that this isn't town-sponsored or funded work.
Right.
I don't know if we need to make a motion on that and make that clear, but it's not our, none of that's our responsibility. We have no interest in
I
building.
wouldn't make a motion that there are no elephants here.
Yeah.
I think that's their business. I won't get into that road.
All right. Yeah, I would just tell them it's on
It's not our
on
work.
their dollar.
Yeah,
So then you're saying that you don't want to review the bridge at all?
Don't they have to have it reviewed? I mean,
I guess
maybe I'm not understanding. They have a plan for a bridge, it needs to be reviewed.
Right.
Don't they have to pay for somebody to review it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. It's a little different than a normal subdivision one where that's all spelled out and, someone's building a subdivision road or something along those lines, it's spelled out that the applicant pays for those design review fees. This is a little bit different situation where it's a variance and the zoning board has specified that you're gonna build a bridge to these standards.
Right.
So now somebody's gotta make sure that they've actually designed and built it to those standards. So,
As long as somebody certifies that this built to those standards, I don't see why we should absorb the cost. They're the ones who, got the variance and need the bridge,
Right, but do you want to review their design? So they have a consultant, a professional engineer that has prepared some plans for the bridge.
Mhm.
Do you want to review his work to make sure that he's designed it to the standards that the ZBA has specified?
And this is that the $500 you're talking about?
Yes, that's what it is.
So would you charge all of it to the people?
I mean, would you back charge them?
The first plan, just
Yeah.
they submitted the first plan
Right.
for the bridge as if it was the design plan. It turned out that it was actually sheet 1 of 4. There was 4 more sheets, but they didn't submit the other sheets. So I took a look at this plan, just a kind of a cursory review of this plan,
Right.
and there was just tremendous amounts of missing information on the plan, just because it was contained on obviously 3 or 4 other sheets. So that was the, kind of the first issue with it was they just didn't have the information. If someone gave that plan to a contractor, I would have no confidence that the bridge could hold up a fire, put it that way. So that was my suggestion, was that we get the complete set of plans and have somebody just take a look at it and make sure they're a reasonable set of plans. As similar to any other project that happens. Septic system design or
Well,
subdivision road or anything else like that.
the zoning board of adjustment put some criteria out there, right?
Yeah.
For the bridge to meet. Okay, so it seems to me that would require the homeowner to verify that they've got a plan together that meets that criteria. Not for us to verify it. There's responsibilities on the homeowner for that, right? Or am I wrong, Andy?
You're correct. So was this a stamped engineered drawing that was submitted to the town?
Yes.
So, if it bears a stamp, then it's the registered design professional, that's their responsibility.
Right, but I'm just saying, similar to a septic system design, they all bear a septic system license stamp. Similar to, road for subdivision, they all bear a stamp for, from an engineer to design a road. And we typically, most towns will all review those as well. I have no preference, one way or the other. For me, I
in the ZBA spell it out, what had to be done?
Right, now it's just make sure they're actually doing what the ZBA
Mhm.
has spelled out. That's the thing.
Can the homeowner still pay for burst review?
We don't have a building permit we're about to issue up there, so
No, we
I would think that would be contingent on the bridge being inspected to the town's satisfaction. I wouldn't be in favor of issuing a building permit to something that we weren't sure the bridge was built to standards that were required of it. Does that make sense, Andy, or am I off page?
Yeah, no, I think you're right on the money, you know, yeah, I think that it bears a quick review, and then when they submit their application, we take a look at it, make sure that they built what they said they were gonna build.
Well,
They don't, they
yeah,
eat it.
And this has, been on our agendas now for a while, so
Yes,
it wouldn't surprise me at all that we wanted to hear from someone with some sort of engineering license or background or expertise that was able to come before the board and say this stamped plan has been constructed based on all the criteria laid out here. And before I could support a building permit, I would want to see that. I mean, in the overall scheme of a construction project, between the bridge and the building going on up there, looks like they've got another $500 tab also.
Yeah.
Simple as that to me.
Pass the cost on. All right. Thank you.
But thanks for bringing that up, because I think that needs to be made
Public.
clear to the landowner. So maybe we should figure out how to do that.
Right.
Julie, you've got the address, mailing address for that landowner. Make sure that maybe we can get out a letter to them this week, put it together, have all 3 selectmen sign it, make sure that they understand clearly our position is that that bridge needs to be constructed
To
based on the
specs.
criteria, and we expect to have some sort of an engineer sign off on it before we're willing to entertain a building permit.
I'll secure it. Bob?
I think Spelltime put that thing to bed because there's enough restrictions on it already from the Board of Adjustment. They're still holding up the sale, and the guy that's been wanting to buy it for a year or more, still hesitant because it isn't everything spelled in black and white.
Mm.
I think it's about time to let the sale go on.
Anything else? Anybody else with public comments? And Chief of Police comes in. Perfect timing, you're up. Don't even sit down. Don't even sit down.
Evening, sir.
Back from a call, huh?
Yeah.
Chief?
Okay, we had 7 false border alarms. We had a purse that was found and turned in. We assisted the ambulance on a medical call. Assisted the fire company with a fire alarm activation at a restaurant. While it was found and turned in, we were able to get that back to the owner.
Nice.
There were 2 loose canines right out here on Main Street. We were able to get them back because there was a dog tag. And we knew where they came from.
Thank you.
We had a Project Good Morning, 3 calls for them for the same person. We had a panic button alarm that in a residence. We took a report of gunshots somewhere in the vicinity of Carter Sugar Hill Lane. We were working on a case, or harassing phone call case. And it's hard when you have track phones and throwaway phones now. But, and the phone company doesn't give up anything, so we've been having to obtain a couple search warrants to fax into Sprint and find out who that number, if they can tell us has it, and who's been paying the monthly bill on it. We had the meeting with Senator Ayotte up here, the Winnie Center, which that went well. Assisted the fire company with an alarm at Nestle Nook, not to be confused with the fire at Nestle Nook. This was a call a few days prior. We took a report of a theft from a home-based business of approximately about $850, and it's winding up to be a credit card. Somebody used somebody's credit card without their permission to order. We fingerprinted two people, one for employment purposes, one for SAU 9. This is the fire company with a smoke detector that was going off our house. This is the fire company with there's an odor of burnt wires, I guess, and we took a call for an intoxicated subject on the sidewalk over by the church. We had two residential burglaries. We had a burglary at a hotel. The Chamber of Commerce had their treat street for Halloween. That went well. We assisted the fire company with an alarm at a restaurant. We did our yearly TASER certification. There was a vandalism. Somebody threw a stone through a window on Main Street. We assisted the fire company with a vehicle fire. I had another report of a residence on Main Street where some windows had been broken and screens cut. And then there was the fire at Nestle Nook, which I think the fire company did an outstanding job. Just awesome. This is the fire company with an older gentleman that fell on his knee. And served two protection orders on people. I'm just coming from a motor vehicle accident up on 16, a car went off the road into a tree. And we had a sex offender move into town. And so I registered with him, and this didn't sit well with me. This was a more severe type. He had to register, has to check it 4 times a year. I met with the probation parole and argued for him not to be moved to this town. My arguments didn't work. However, due to other circumstances and my arguments, the county probation parole officers met with their superiors, and they decided to reverse the decisions, and now this person has 2 weeks to move out of town. So this is a good thing, real good thing. That's what I have.
Thank you.
So,
Any questions for the chief?
Just a quick one, because part of Bill's responsibility between the last meeting and this meeting was to come up with an update on our whole dog license issue. And the subject of the animal control officer came up, and there were some questions about why we changed animal control officers, and basically it was because we're getting a lot of non-response from Betty.
correct.
That's always been under your purview as the chief to be dealing with the animal control officer issue. So just because you're here, Can you just kind of recap briefly for us the non-responses and the non-calls and showing up too late to do anything? That kind of spelled out to us that maybe she was a little overstretched, wonderful person, but got too much going on to really fulfill the responsibility.
Pretty much that's it in a nutshell. What we found is we call and just about every single time we get her answering machine. And sometimes we get a call back, sometimes we wouldn't. Usually when we got a call back, the problem's been solved already. But we were having a not available when we needed the animal control officer. But the straw that broke the camel's back, per se, was we were having a situation with the dog owner up here, and the dogs running free. And fines weren't really working because he just paid them. So I called Betty Holmes and said, "Listen, can you come up here and meet with me? And let's discuss this." And she said, "Okay, we'll come up this time and date, put a presentation together, and we will." She never showed. I took time to put something together, and no phone call, no show. This in conjunction with the others, it was just, you know what? It's time to move on. So
Now, at the time, we were budgeting for Betty, what, $500 a year, was it?
that's right. Yes. Yeah, she was getting paid $20 an hour.
$20 an hour.
Right.
Thanks for the recap.
So,
Thank you, sir.
okay.
Nance?
I had a question about the sex offender. Is that someone that's working in town?
Was going to.
Are there any currently working in town?
Not that I'm aware.
Is it, sorry, is it public knowledge as to where, is it updated on the New Hampshire website to tell where he's current, or she currently living?
It was so new that no, I just did the registration the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact. So there was no time for it to be
Updated.
processed and listed on the internet.
Can we be told where it is, since this person's gonna be here for another 2 weeks possibly?
Well, it's right by my house, I can tell you that. And that was one of the arguments is I have a 15-year-old daughter who's now not going to be able to be outside. So,
I'm not sure where you live.
Up by this one.
yeah, then by Covered Bridge.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Dean, you're up.
Come on up. Yeah, grab some chairs.
How are ya?
All right.
We were a little surprised to get our $22,500 tax bill. I don't think anyone on the board or even in the town office or the tax collector's office was actually working or volunteering for the town at the time, so you may not be aware of the history, but from 2007 until 2012, we applied for building permit, driveway permits. Relied on the town, the Selectmen's office for guidance on answering questions and filling out the forms, and everything was approved. So I guess we feel as though we were somewhat misled to get this bill, 6 years later.
We were told that we had 3.4 acres out. It didn't matter, we were all set for building and driveway.
I guess
And
it raises the question, isn't there some kind of time frame to pursue something like this?
So the $22,000 was for that time span, 07?
No, that was because now they're saying he wants 3 acres out. Because he
3
says that the
additionally.
3 acres were down by the road. It used to, we were told it didn't matter where it originally was. We had 44 acres total. 3.4 were out of current use already.
Mhm.
So when we went and got the permit and stuff, we were told that we were all set. When we got the driveway permit, and when we blasted in '08, we called, and, you know, secretaries, we were all set. They put the road in, the tax card in '09, he's got the picture, this is right there, he's got the picture. The site's already, where the ledge was moved and everything. And then we go along and in 13, we get a bill. As far as I can see, it says once they know, well, they knew all along. It says you've got 18 months. And it, you know, 18 months, you go back to just '09, it's been over 18 months to get a bill.
And I mean, this is, we're in a learning phase right now. We're trying to reconcile to the figures that Jeanette has outlined in this letter, and evidently the tax cards aren't available, and the ones that we have don't seem to tie out to these figures. And of course, Jeanette's no longer here, nor is Diane, and
We can get
I
her
guess
though, if we
we're-
need her, we can get her.
Jeanette's actually the assistant,
Right.
yeah, and I
in the office
I guess
now,
we've
so
been
she's still, yeah,
doing a
Right.
little circle, trying to get information from folks, and
Sure.
Jason seems to be the go-to guy, and Jason's not around.
yeah, right.
So we're
And he
not,
couldn't make it today.
No,
We're not-
Jason's very well aware. I thought, we left it on the agenda so that you guys could be aware of it.
Right.
But Jason does need to, you know, be here to be able to explain a lot of this to everyone.
Yeah,
John, there is an application we need to give these guys that they need to fill out. But Jason, he didn't respond yet to my question of can he be at the next meeting, so, you know, I suppose we could really try to do the meeting, anytime, but I will see if, you know, he can be at the next selectmen's meeting, so he can answer a lot of these, most of these questions.
He also recommended that we waive the interest
And I
fee.
guess that would be based on the application,
Right.
like having an application.
So
Yeah.
that,
that we could get, yeah.
so whatever decision is made, interest won't be.
but we can't really complete this without information from Jason.
Right, so we have to get you guys involved. That's what it says here. You need to meet with him directly, and he's
And
the,
maybe he can explain the tax cards to us, because
he's the one.
you know, we haven't been able to figure out where these figures come from.
and just like you're learning, we're learning now too about this situation. I didn't know about it at the last meeting, I know about it now, and when we heard Jason couldn't be here, we felt like, or I felt like, I made the statement, I don't know how anybody else feels, that, you know, first thing we need to do is relieve you guys of some stress that there's gonna be some sort of interest charge on this thing, because we've got a short window here now that it's come to our attention. I mean, I don't think any of us would, or I know I'm not supporting any interest, you know, off of this come your way until we get the whole thing settled, and you fill that out, and you get the information from Jason that you need, and we really get to come to an understanding of just what's going on up there.
So I guess one of our questions, we went online to print the current use law, and there's 3 booklets out there, and we're not sure which one applies to us. I mean, when we first put our driveway in, it was 2007, and that booklet's not available.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure we're looking at guidelines that actually apply to us.
Right.
And I'm wondering if maybe it's a separate, of course it'd be public, but a separate work session, just to clear this matter up, because it doesn't seem like it's gonna be something that we end up getting to the bottom of it 10 minutes
No.
on an agenda item of a public meeting, and I don't really know, like Julie said, I mean, she sent out an email to Jason and CC'd us, and Jason couldn't make the meeting, and so we don't know if he can make the next meeting that we have scheduled, but maybe we should schedule a separate special meeting that we know he can make. I'd really like to get this all squared away. This is the type of thing that can languish on beyond the holidays. Nobody wants that. I'd love to have this thing squared away if possible before Thanksgiving. This separate work session So that, I don't know how anybody else feels, I'm just throwing this out because I don't think anybody wants to see this thing go, it's anxiety producing to get a bill like that.
Do you guys have a pretty open schedule? Do you?
Oh, yes, okay,
Yeah.
we'll drop everything. Believe me. Our-
22,000
that's not an
reasons
issue.
for that, right?
Right.
So maybe we can give Jason a ring and find out when he can make something, and then make sure the three of us can be there, and get you guys in here, and we can hammer this out so that everybody's clear on everything.
So is this something that, did this happen to other folks? Is
I
this-
haven't seen it. I've been here 3 years. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
And I haven't seen it a year and a half in, so.
So
B?
did Jason
Sorry.
initiate
Seeing you're
this?
on current use, remember I asked you if you would tell me when Jason was coming? Because we sold a piece of land and we should get,
And I emailed him about yours, and he said that yours is gonna be December, I think, is what he, yeah, he did.
because I want it this year. It should be done within the year that you took it up.
Yeah,
Right.
he did address that he was working on
Okay.
yours.
Seeing we're on it, I just want it.
Okay.
Which would bring us back to 2007. So I guess, I mean, how do we find out what current use laws apply to us? How do we?
You can go to the Department of Revenue website.
Right, but there's only the last 3 years booklets are on. This happened in 2007.
Probably have them here, I would imagine, somewhere.
Well, I can call the Department of Revenue and ask.
Yeah, we can ask.
And
Sure.
I'll ask if they issue it.
Do you have a good enough handle on this issue to be able to ask them the question we need to ask?
Well, the Department of Revenue?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can simply ask them, we have an issue that started back in 2007, which version of the law would be applicable if
Mhm.
it's coming up
Yeah.
now?
Okay.
So our understanding is that this has happened before, and that this isn't precedent setting. This, we were told we had plenty of land out of current use, and that others have also built on land or disturbed earth that was in current use because they had sufficient land out of current use.
Yeah. Have you heard that from anybody that we can, learn from?
Yeah,
Any
we
kind
can
of
relay the
authority that we
information
can-
to.
Okay, that'd be great. We'll have to,
I mean, based on what we were told by the town office, that was what we went on.
by the people that worked in the selectmen's office at
Right.
the time.
At the time.
Right. They said the answer is no, you're not building in current use, you have plenty of land out of current use. More than sufficient is what we were told.
Andy, are you somebody that should be at that work session?
Boy, I'd love to be.
Okay,
Why not?
all right. Well, if you,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
okay.
So
Thank
let's set
you.
that up,
Yeah.
All right.
get moving on
Thank
it.
you. We appreciate it.
Get
No
everybody
problem.
around the table at the same time. and just
That's what we
figure
need to
this
do.
whole thing out.
We know where he lives.
Where all of us live, that's the problem. Thank you. Andy, you're up.
Thank you.
Long time no see. You busy?
Lake Wobegon.
You busy?
Yeah, it's been not so busy here, but,
Other
everything
places?
else is, keeping me hopping. Quiet permit wise, so we have a bathroom model, and a building permit extension, both nothing earth shattering. Just so that, to give you guys an update, I know we've issued a demolition permit for some of the work at Wentworth, and as I think everybody expected, when they sent the environmental testing guys in, they did find asbestos, so they're in the process, they've already submitted all their paperwork. I'm gonna give a copy to Julie so that you guys have a copy on file. I've given it to the fire department as well. It's stuff just around the old boiler room, typical locations to find asbestos.
Guys,
guys.
you want to take it outside if you want to talk?
Thank you.
So, so Couture, who's the contractor, prior to doing any demolition work, has to submit all the information to the state for for abatement. They've actually hired a contractor. The state has a 10-day window, which is coming to a close here in the next couple of days. So the state they could potentially say, we have concerns, we're not gonna allow anything to be abated until they send their people up, but it's a small area, so I don't anticipate any issues from the state. Had a brief meeting with Couture and his design team and engineers yesterday to get acquainted of what they're planning on doing for the new construction. And they're still pretty much at the design stage. We don't have any plans to review. I've made it clear to them that we're gonna need a full set of stamp drawings for both myself and for the fire department to review before they can move forward with the building permit. They're currently working on getting a septic application put together so that can be reviewed. And that will be so that's the next step. So just because everybody's going to see work
Stuff
here
going on,
shortly,
right.
I wanted
Yep.
to let
Yep.
you know that we're on top of it, and yeah. So
Very good.
nothing earth shattering yet. So and then there's been some question about the structure fire that we had a couple days ago, and apparently there was work being done. There are no permits out for that. So just to give you guys an update that I've received several calls about inspections up there, and there have been none because there's no building permit out. So
What are the potential ramifications of that?
I don't think there's anything for us because there's no no application out. There's no need for an inspection. So it's yeah, it's.
I mean, aren't there any fines if somebody's doing work without proper?
Well, so if the board would like, I mean, we could entertain finding them for doing work without a permit. So, but that I would want your direction for that, and it might be something you want to consider.
This is much different than the dog licenses. Back to that again. You missed that conversation.
Oh, no. Yeah. So did you have one of the dogs bite you? Is that how this happened? Yeah.
It was a big dog.
Yeah. I'd want them licensed too after that.
I mean, you're potentially putting people in harm's way.
Well, my understanding is that they were not occupying that building and it was no longer being used as an inn.
Right.
So.
I was just thinking in terms of the firefighters who have to go fight that fire.
Well, that's, yeah.
But we were up there on a tour recently, and I thought it was clear at the time that he was living out of that.
I thought it was in the other place up in the
Okay.
but I could be wrong.
Well, I'm glad I misunderstood then.
So my personal understanding is it was unoccupied, but that's, I don't have any,
All right.
no firsthand knowledge.
Okay.
So, but if it's something that, Mike can talk with the fire chief, see what their feelings are about this, and,
I mean, eventually we'll get some sort of an idea that they can figure out,
right.
so be good to know. Always have a building permit.
That's exactly.
A lesson right there.
Yeah, so that's all I got. So, and I guess I'll hang around. Do you want me to give Julie the copies of the EPA information for Wentworth, or you guys want that now?
You can give it to her, some more copies for us. One other thing, did we ever get to work on any of the contract? I know at one point we had discussed that. I know George Howard's been kind of running me a little bit on that, but.
Okay, all right, I'll get that done so we can get that thing in the works, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Just so we
Well,
have.
it's been on the back burner for me.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, and I kind of figured as much.
Yeah,
And I just this week had asked Julie if she could round up some information on what a contract template would look like between the job description that laid out the essential duties
Yeah.
we looked at and between what was in the SBC book. It seemed clear what we would want in that kind of a contract, and so she's got a call out for some sort of a contract template
okay,
that does or doesn't have to necessarily have anything to do with state, are with the building inspector services, and then we've also got a request out from a couple of towns who currently contract out for services to see if they wouldn't be willing to share something. I think between, say, 3 or 4 different documents, we can kind of craft something, and I think that the board has come to a point, well, I don't know if I don't speak for the board, but it's clear that we're talking with someone who's been providing services to the town for years, so, even though
And we're
it's an
confident
important
in their work.
position, I don't know that anybody's come up with an opinion that we should be posting anything.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I have a quick question related to building permits.
Mm-hmm.
We paid over $1,000 for our building permit, and I know my brother-in-law paid over $2 for his. And the intent at the time was to cover the fees related to the inspections.
Mhm.
How is that being handled now that it's been reduced down to $25 for a building permit?
Well, that's just the application
That's just
fee.
the application fee.
The fees are still with a formula determined based on, the value of the house and materials and things like that, right, Andy?
Yeah, so the formula hasn't changed, and it hasn't changed for years. What we've done to kind of clean this thing up, it doesn't matter whether it's a project under $10,000 or over $10,000. The fees for the office staff for processing the permit application, printing the permit itself, that amount of work doesn't change, whether it's a $200 shed or it's a $2 million house. So, and that's where that fee has changed. We've gone from being broken down from 25 and 75 if it's over $10,000 to just the straight 25.
So it's just for the application fee.
Just for the application fee.
But the inspection fees are,
The rest of that fee structure remains the same. So, yeah.
anything else? Good,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Zach, thanks.
All right. Quick signing of the manifests. Bob, you're up a couple times here.
And did you get I think everyone got my email about the fact that we no longer have to sign these
Yeah, in
the
meetings,
meeting anymore.
Right.
and you only need 2 signatures. Playing cards here?
Shuffling papers, man, that's all I do is shuffle papers.
River card here?
Unbelievable. Well, the grades closed this week, so I've been wicked busy this week.
Yes, I know all about that.
Oh, man, the kids are paying the buck.
I hear all about it. What a coincidence, so are you.
No, he's great.
Just met with Nate today.
Huh?
We just met with Nate today.
Oh, did he?
Parent-teacher.
Cool.
Parent.
Council, man. All right, number 8, to be approved, the audit from Dave Mason.
Right, well-
And we also have a nice little letter from Warren here as well.
You two were ready to, prepared to approve the auditor's report at the last meeting, but I hadn't read it yet, and I've read through it, and I have no problems with it. Seems pretty straightforward, seems like it was put together in a real professional manner, and all of his recommendations were clear.
Okay, and Warren, did you have input on this? I get your letter here, obviously, and,
It covers it.
okay. And you have any issues with those changes? You know, you didn't want to, you don't have any problems with that restructuring from your letter here? Okay, great. All right, so I guess we have to have a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Legal expenses. 2 lawsuits we have now. Benesh lawsuits up to almost $7,900, and Funcisalas is $8,200 roughly, and change. So So we're looking at about $16,000. I think we had a $20,000 line item for that, if I remember correctly. I think that is the,
Sounds right.
I think that is the amount, so we're getting very close to that, and of course, we're near the end of the year, but we'll probably go over budget on that one. Hate to say it. Number 10, new business, power of attorney for taxes.
That was, everyone agreed that it was okay for me to sign that, and
Yep.
it was just allowing the new payroll people to process our payroll taxes.
All right, so just, Bill already signed it, so we're all set there.
No, I signed it.
Oh, is that your signature? Selectmen?
Oh, no, oh, well then Bill signed it, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, there was another one that I signed.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, this is from Peter. The New England Telephone Operations, this is the was it Fairpoint? And they're trying to sue to get abatement for their,
Yeah, apparently this is something. that's
Taxes.
going on in every
Tax
town.
status.
yeah, they're doing it for everybody, we're just number 75 in line, I guess.
Right.
The, what is this? This is the boiler over in the, boiler information. Can you fill us in on that one?
I'll give you an update on that. I think you're both aware, but I'm not even sure about that the boiler failed in the town garage.
And this is new, I mean,
Yeah, and it's been laying out in pieces since July when Lyman Oil, who had the maintenance contract at the time, went in there to figure out what the problems were, and then the company came by, Elite Boiler, when everything was laid out so they could see what happened with the boiler, and their position was that there was drywall dust, and there was indication to them that it was fired up and run when it shouldn't have been run, when the building was being constructed, because of all this dust that was around, and it wasn't enclosed at the time, and so we were getting a runaround, and Lyman Oil didn't even have our maintenance contract at the time. This was all coming down because we'd switched over to White Mountain Oil. So, we had White Mountain Oil involved in this issue. We had Lyman Oil involved in this issue. We had McGee and Company, who was the company that we contracted with to install the heating system, involved in this issue. And we had the Elite Boiler Company involved in this issue. And their position was that it wasn't their fault that the thing failed after 2.5 years because it was improperly run. The nozzle, at some point somebody was claiming that it was actually set up to run on natural gas and not LP, on and on and on it went.
oh my goodness.
I contacted, just because I'm the liaison to the town garage, White Mountain Oil, left a message, he got back to me, explained the situation so that I could understand it. I contacted the gentleman whose name is on the letter, Lewis Cassidy at McGee and Company, who installed the boiler. White Mountain Oil said, well, we'd stand behind that if it was us. And I said, well, White Mountain Oil said they'd stand behind it. And their position was clear, and Elite was able to verify that it hadn't been set up to run on natural gas. That wasn't the issue. So through discussions with Lewis at Elite at McGee, we reached a resolution. A new boiler in his mind was going to install it would take about $3,900 in his mind to install a new boiler. So he offered us half of that, $2,000, in order to come to a resolution on that matter, and that seemed to be a pretty fair offer, and so that's
That check
why.
came in today.
The check came in today, so the letter, we all signed the letter, it was notarized and sent out, so the issue's closed. I think in Jay,
Do we have a boiler?
the bill that we got, yeah, it's probably closer to $5,000 or $6,000, and we tried to keep this thing in perspective too. I mean, it was a $1.2 million project that we ended up have to spend another $5,000 on a boiler.
Alrighty, well, thank you for taking care of that, I guess.
No problem. Jay was good about it.
Yeah,
We got heat coming in the winter, that's the important thing.
Anything else on that?
No, I'm good.
National flood insurance,
That was just a recap of the visit that we had, and basically, Andy did most of the talking in that meeting.
what a surprise.
Yeah, wow, really?
Yeah, shocking.
And it was just, whether we're complying, and he was.
In good shape there? Great. Department of Revenue, Carroll County appointments,
We got that, didn't we?
Yep.
In the email, yeah.
apportionments, excuse me.
FYI,
apportionments.
right?
Apportionments,
Yeah, that's
yep.
just an FYI.
Just FYI, as county taxes. Administrative assistant hours.
That I had spoken to Bob about, and he bumped Julie up to 35 hours instead of 32, because there is a need for those extra hours, so.
Is it going to be a permanent bump, or is there something that's going to, a project or something you're working
No,
on
no,
now
it's
that's
just-
going to go back
no,
down,
I
or?
just think that after having had her in here, it's definitely a need that will remain current.
Might wanna-
We talked about that, and I gave my approval for that to be a temporary bump until we could talk about it as a group of three here. I wasn't comfortable about making that kind of a decision on my own. Julie, I asked her to come up with some figures. We're still gonna come in under budget for that town office this year, and even to have her working with those extra 5 hours per week, of course, that's still 5 hours less per week than we were operating that office under previously. And next year, we'll still come in about $1,500 all told under budget, based on the projections out, with that extra 5 hours a week. So, but I felt like that needed to be something that we talked about and made a motion of. It's gonna go beyond a couple weeks. And their position is, they do need that extra 5 hours to get caught up. There's a lot of big projects going on.
Have to
So-
make sure it reflects the budget for next year.
Yeah, and that's why I asked for those figures.
It's actually, I think it's in your folder, there's an email that I sent you.
Okay, yeah,
that
yeah,
has them broken out.
the figures were that, we would come in, just the one that has, our budget would be under this year by $1,450 for wages, and if we kept her at 35 hours permanently. And of course, so
That's for the rest of this
1,400
year, but
Right, and so it would all be relative. This budget this year, we would tack on a cost of living increase, just like we will for the budget we actually incur, so it's all relative. $1,450.
any questions on it? Comments? All right, next is map R12 lot 138 update.
So you guys are good with that then?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, what's that?
That's the house over here, down
Uh-huh.
16,
Okay.
the one that we shut down.
That Andy gets to respond to, that letter as well.
So we have a letter here from Lucy Bellin regarding the house, and have you seen that?
I have.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
So I think we have a good resolution.
Good, and I don't mind giving her a little extra time under the circumstances, the personal circumstances that she's under.
Yes, I agree. The big thing is that we've secured the front of that, where we had that giant hole. So
Right.
no one's gonna fall in.
So it's safe
I'd
now.
love to see the trash cleaned up outside, but I have confirmed that there is no power going to that house.
Okay.
So, that's, the chance of fire is reduced greatly by that. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, so it's safe, at least for the time being.
But that letter didn't really, did it spell out a plan to?
Well, I think he's going to respond to that.
Okay.
That's,
She didn't really give us a plan for that.
Right.
She has kind of stated her situation,
Yeah.
Okay.
and
Are you in touch with her, or?
No, we've been corresponding, so that's, I'm happy that, at least we're doing that.
Right.
And she seems responsive, so that's a good thing. And they did get the power taken care of right away, which I was pleased about also.
It'd be nice to maybe get some community members to help out. I mean, I'd be willing to volunteer if the day is right, obviously, but,
Yeah.
I know Lucy, I've known her for a long time, so.
John, that's a good idea.
I know she's had some tough times recently.
Yeah.
All right, next on the agenda is the MS1 to be signed.
Right where the green sticky is, you just covered where you need to sign.
Make a motion?
So
This is
moved.
this summary of basically the town business, right? With all this people who are, all the statistical stuff that involves
Yeah,
it.
it's everything that Jason has input, and we send that to the Department of Revenue.
All right.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Says you gotta use ink here, so no crayons.
Okay, I promise.
Library handicap parking space, I saw that email go around. I certainly had no problem, I'd like to get it done before winter.
Well, so Jay did mention one thing briefly, and he said that he didn't have a problem with the handicap space being used, but he said that that still needs to be a fire lane. Did you get more confirmation from Jay?
No, I didn't have a chance to talk to Jay. Our only request was that we make the handicap parking lot closer to the front
Door.
door because it gets, you see in the wintertime, if you want more than that one spot,
Yeah, whatever's needed.
whatever, it was just if you need it for other things, that's not our contention. Our request was really like, that's great, but, it does get icy even better if it was right there.
So do you want me to have Jay go ahead and put in another?
Does he have the template to paint and everything? Is that how these
I don't know
got
if I
in
got into
before?
that much detail about it with him.
Okay.
Sir Lines-a-Lot has it.
Right,
Sure.
right.
Lines-a-Lot.
The only
Chip Henry.
comment somebody made, the trustee meeting the other day when this came up is, if he needs it for a handicap spot, that's fine. If he wants it for fire, whatever he needs it for, if he's not gonna make it another handicap, if that one's gonna go away, he will need to
Get rid of the.
get rid of the, not just the sign, but the painting on the pavement.
So do you guys have the direction as far as leaving that as 2 handicap spaces on one on each side, or it's up to Jay, one a fire lane, one handicap, or how do you want to proceed?
Well, I'd love to hear what Bill and John have to say. I think my sense is that we've got 3 handicap spots out here in total, and it seems to be more than enough for the amount of people that come up and need to use those spots. So, and I don't think that the library's asking for more, just moving of the one. So I'm in favor of keeping it at a total of 3, unless somebody on the board feels differently.
Now, what about Jay saying he needs that spot for a fire lane?
Well, I think I'm happy to work with Jay to make sure that the spot that everybody's got in mind doesn't impact his ability with his fire and safety obligations.
No problem with that.
Don't either. Leave it up to Bob and Jay.
You want me to, so that's another action item for me. I've got,
30.
check on the granite steps and whether we need a railing and,
Actually, Andy could probably answer that one. Do you know anything
yeah,
about that?
that's right, you weren't here before. Are you familiar with what we're doing in the falls, over
No.
the falls? Well,
No, I'm
we've
not.
got
One over a barrel.
Yeah.
the soil conservationists that came up and took a look at some of our issues over there with overuse and erosion and came up with a 3 to 5 year
Plan.
strategic plan to improve the situation up there at the falls. And one of his recommendations was to put some granite steps in. And we're trying to channel people from the parking area down to the falls with fewer trail systems. Instead of the 10 or 12 different trails that have been trampled in there, we could limit that to 3. And so there's been some landscaping work up there. There are a couple of different trails that have I think, 3 granite steps down. According to Bob Davis, we need a handrail for that system, and so I'm not sure, I told him I'd look into it and come back next meeting with a report.
Well, I'm happy to take a look at it, because I'm not, I honestly am not sure, because there is a different code section for landscape, so that may not be the case, but let me look at it.
Okay, it is
You could do
commercial,
that.
I mean, well,
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
commercial, but I mean, it's
Yeah,
town property.
exactly. Yeah.
I'd rather be on the side of
I
safety
think
than not.
It's probably a great idea, but let me see if it's actually required.
Safety director.
Yeah, if you could get back to me, you've got my
Yeah.
email address, some point
Yeah.
within the next 2 weeks, and then I'll come in and meeting and make a report and just look like a star and everything.
He's a hero.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Okay, next is the workforce housing survey, and this is addressed to us, Board of Selectmen, to decide whether we want to support or not the efforts to repeal or replace the state of New Hampshire laws regarding workforce housing.
Didn't that come around to us also
Yeah,
electronically?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't think I read this? Did you read that? Did you get,
I went through it a little bit, but
Yeah.
what's your opinion on that?
I'm not a big regulation guy.
Is
If I
that-
can understand what that says, I would say, I don't want any more regulation. So I would say, repeal it. But it's not, sometimes those are banana things where you vote one way and it means something else. So,
Well, I wasn't sure if that was a political issue we were asked to weigh in on without really understanding it, or what your views on it were.
I would assume the state didn't send us this, right?
No.
I mean, that's,
No, this is,
came from a,
doesn't say. Yeah, some political.
Right. No. I thought-
Not Therese. Yeah, is it her gig?
She is
Involved in it, I know, but I
in-
didn't think
in
this
a-
was her.
They're trying to revamp a coalition, but that seems separate.
I think that- I mean, this is asking to repeal it.
well,
Right.
that's the best I could understand. It was to repeal it.
Unless somebody wants to come here and explain this, of course, there's a can of worms, so you ask somebody to come in and explain something, but,
I really don't
know,
have
I'm not
opinion
gonna
on it
say
personally.
slanted, but there's an issue there, and clearly that's one side of it. I wasn't feeling like it was necessary to take any action on it until somebody could convince me otherwise.
I'm not terribly interested myself.
I would say unless there's more information, is just let it go.
No action necessary.
All right, next is the public restrooms. In case
There
any-
was an email that came in on the website that was asking about
Why is it the town of Jackson has a perfectly good public restroom, but they don't let the tourists come into the town to spend money to use it?
and so Phil had responded, well, what restroom are you referring to? And I guess they were talking about the ball,
Ball field.
yeah. And I had sent that out to you guys, and Jay had responded and saying, well, who's gonna clean it? No one would find it, and, sports equipment is kept in there, so it can't just be open.
Right.
So I just, it's
It's,
just
oh,
something.
it's in that little cement
Yeah, it's
outhouse
just
there?
kind of something to think about, because I think someone else at one point had said, why isn't there a public restroom? So it's not really, up for a big discussion, just something to think
Right.
about.
Right. That's an equipment shed, and it's traditionally been open when that park has sanctioned sporting events.
Right.
So that people who are down there for those sporting events can have a public restroom. I mean, if there was an interest in other sanctioned events down there wanting access to that, I would certainly be interested, I'd certainly be all ears, but
Ooh, that reminds me.
I don't know that the town really has the funding resources to open and maintain a public, you'd have to have some renovation work going on down there, because it's primarily an equipment shed.
Is that something that people would want to discuss at the town meeting if?
I hope not.
I hope not.
No, okay.
I hope not either.
But you never know.
It has public restrooms when it's open, and you have restrooms in here when you're open.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
On that topic, you and I were talking about the rental properties, quote unquote, the gazebo for weddings.
Yes. There has been an inquiry as to if the park can be used for reception.
That's right along with what you were saying about using the bathroom.
And so I think, I was going to ask LGC if there were any issue, if they had alcohol, because usually a reception would. And so I was going to kind of inquire before seeing what you guys thought, or if that's something we would rent or let people use. I don't know if there would be a fee or what.
Well, ordinances for alcohol consumption in public or
Well, I don't think we have one in
town ordinances, yeah,
Yeah.
they can go down there and shoot all the fireworks off they want and drink whatever they want, I guess. We don't have ordinances for those things in this
Well,
town.
you do have a permanent assembly, so if somebody wanted to have an event, I don't think it's any different whether or not it's on town property or on private property. One of the ends, someone puts up a tent, the fire department's required to issue a permanent assembly. So,
Okay,
yeah. So there is, yeah,
a process.
there is.
So is this something you want to be pursued as far as, or do you want to, is it something you're just going to say, yes, we'll look into letting them use it, or no, we're not going to let them use it for the reception?
Well, I think we need to dust something off that hasn't been used in a while, and that's a permit for assembly. in public. I don't know if that's typically used when we have our flag ceremony, or when the last time was we had a.
They use it for the duck race every year? I don't,
Well, I don't know.
I don't think,
I would guess probably not.
If
something we
you
should,
could
though.
ask the chamber, because the chamber sponsors the Wild Quack. If,
What they do for.
yeah,
Mhm.
might give us a
I
start.
think the LGC would probably be the best place to start there, see if it's even suggested or,
Okay,
even to host those things, especially with alcohol involved.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? That's it. No more potty jokes? All right, on to old business, and we have Lauren's letter here. Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read it, or you're probably better at reading it than I am? Yeah. Because I don't, points of inflection might not go over.
Do you want the southern accent?
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Dear Jackson Board of Selectmen, this letter is a response to the anonymous letter that was included in the minutes from your last meeting, it was probably 2 ago now,
Yep.
regarding my position as the animal control officer for the town of Jackson. I feel that it is only fair for you to read and include this response in the next minutes like the anonymous letter was. I take my position as the animal control officer very seriously and am extremely dedicated to it. I am on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to respond to animal-related calls in town. I do not get paid to be on call and have a budget of only $500 annually. This amount covers my driving expenses at best. The writer's concern that the job is going in the direction of full-time is completely unfounded. The writer also asked why Jackson needs an animal control officer while Bartlett doesn't have one. This is completely false. Bartlett does have an animal control officer, and her budget is 3 times what mine is. The state requires that every town has someone to deal with animal-related calls for public safety. It can be an animal control officer, an agent of the local humane society, or a police officer who has special equipment and hopefully training to do the job. I am highly qualified to be an animal control officer due to my education and past work experience, which is why Chief Carl Myers hired me to do the job. I have a degree in wildlife biology and have worked in many jobs that involve working with animals of all types. I am also certified to be an animal control officer by the state of Maine. New Hampshire does not have a program. And I'm certified part-time police officer by the state of New Hampshire. I use my own vehicle for animal control work. The writer questioned my ability and authority to deal with bears and other wild animals. Assisting New Hampshire Fish and Game is listed in my job description as part of my responsibilities. I also have a Bachelor of Science degree in Wildlife Biology from Colorado State University, one of the most respected programs in the country. I have worked as a wildlife biologist, wildlife rehabilitation assistant, took a licensing course from New Hampshire Fish and Game called Nuisance Wildlife Control Operator, and took another course at UNH through New England Animal Control Humane Academy called Identifying and Handling Wildlife and Potentially Dangerous Reptiles. In addition to all this training, every time I deal with wild animals, I call New Hampshire
Bless
Fish and
you.
Game to ask for direction and then call back after I've handled the situation to report the outcome. I also have all my rabies vaccinations in case I am bitten or scratched. I am oftentimes able to respond to wildlife calls quicker than Fish and Game because I am right in town and available on any day and time. They have always been very appreciative of my assistance. As far as my following up on the people who have not renewed their dogs' licenses in town, that effort was directed to me by the Board of Selectmen and is in accordance with state law. The town makes no money on this project at all, and the concern was public safety. I strongly encourage anybody who has any questions or concerns about the animal control officer to approach me or the police department directly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate everything you've done so far. I think you've done a great job. $500 is woefully under budgeted for something like that, but being a new position transferring from what it was, we went with the $500 to, match the funds. At budget time, we'll discuss what we're going to do. Obviously, if it goes the way we were talking about before, we'll have to see how that pans out, but thank you very much. Any other comments or concerns? You want a copy of that, or?
Yeah, I think that, you make a number of points here, that we are required to have somebody to deal with animal-related calls for public safety. If anybody was ever questioning your credentials, and I don't know anyone that ever has, but certainly after this letter, nobody would be questioning any of your credentials. I mean, you're highly qualified to do the work you're doing. And the third point that you made that I just wanted to respond to was that you were following up on people who haven't licensed their dogs at the direction of the board. It had nothing to do with you, it had nothing to do with Carl, and it had everything to do with the three of us.
And state law that you were following, so.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, 911 numbering system.
I asked for that to be put on the agenda tonight for us to have a discussion, because I think it was Bea that corrected me when she was here earlier, that all towns were required to have a 911 compliant numbering system in their town, and at a certain point, 05, 06, 07, something like that. And we started it, I know the town, that's when the town purchased those big
Oh, those
street
signs.
signs that went up, and then the homeowners also had a responsibility to make sure that their houses were numbered in accordance with the stipulations. And I know that those stipulations are on our website, and they're pretty, I won't say onerous, but there's some real specificity to them. They're supposed to be able to glow in the dark and all of that stuff, or be luminous, I guess I should say. And so the question was, that's a law in the books, and we don't have full compliance, so what are we going to do?
This came up, I think we talked about this when we had a meeting early on with the government, and we went through that. And they were, the federal government, and they reminded us that, in order to have certain things happen, we agreed to put these signs up. I bought a sign, brought it in, showed it to everybody here, and said, here's what it needs to look like. And technically, everyone should have a sign for emergency purposes. It should be up. How we resolve that is, it's another question. I don't know. Maybe we bring it up at the meeting and talk about, maybe it may be easier to buy the signs and install them, or say, we'll give it to you, just put it up. I mean, you know, maybe there's another way to solve it than trying to do something else.
I had a quick question. I don't know if there's a resource in town on the website or with the fire department here in Jackson, but we ended up going to the Bartlett Fire Department because the guys, to raise money, I don't know how much they make off of it, but they gave us these beautiful two-sided, they're bright red, they are not to everyone's taste, but all I care about is life safety. The ambulance and the fire department can't find our home because we have a nice little decorative sign, then that doesn't really help, as far as I'm concerned. So we went and got a gaudy red sign for $15. You can do it front, back, vertical, horizontal, and then.
What's this, I thought it was just the numbers you had to have, the 3.5-inch numbers for the house, or?
I'm not sure how it works as far as what you guys agreed to, but you can get a very nice, some people, they think it's gaudy, whatever, it's a red sign about this long, be either horizontal or vertical for $15.
What's on the sign? Anything, your name or the house numbers? Just the number of the,
That's it.
And they do.
It's highly visible to those of us who have to try to find people in the middle of the night, and I will tell you that it's frustrating for us in the back of the ambulance to try to find somebody who's having an emergent situation, and it can be quite frustrating for the individual too. Why the hell did it take you so long to get here?
Right.
Type of thing. And we say, well, it'd be helpful if you put a number out in front of your house, and they suddenly look sheepishly to us.
You have one up?
I have one at my house, if you want to drive by my house, you'll talk about that.
Yeah,
It's
I've
red?
got one I can bring down, we haven't put up.
Oh, you haven't put it up yet, but you have one?
No, we have another one
Oh,
that we have not. put
are they
up
still
yet.
making them? Tom?
Yes, if you go to Pat Roberts is there during the day, give him $15, he will get signed.
Yeah, and I didn't get
It
extra
takes
forms.
less than a week for, well, I don't know where he's getting on, getting it down.
and it's just the number on the sign?
It's a red sign, it's about 18 inches long, either horizontally or vertically, and it just has your number on it, a white number.
And we just went to Home, I don't know, Lowe's or Home Depot and just got a, metal flange and one of those iron
And
cuttings
I've
and
toyed
spray
with the
painted.
idea of writing a letter to the famous website, because it is so important for us. It's just how frustrating it is for us to find people sometimes.
Yeah.
And they're sitting in their house having a heart attack or they're falling, broken a hip, and we can't find them for 10 or 15, 20 minutes.
And that's in ideal weather conditions. Then you get into situations where you've got rain, sleet, snow. They had to go up to my parents' house. One rainy, sleety snow, there was a fatality on Dead Man's, and they almost hit Gill Bridge. I mean, it was a horrible night. And they're getting a house number.
Some people may not like the red signs, but boy, we know what they are, we see them. It's a big difference. And it's only $15.
And you can, and Pat will give you a sign even though you're not in Bartlett?
Correct, I live in Jackson, gave me one for $15, I got one.
Yeah, it's a great bag.
Interesting.
And it's nice, if you go up Dunteesville, Dean has one up on a tree outside his house. It's very easy to see. Snow piles get rather high sometimes, so put them up in the air. As I say, I've toyed with the idea of putting a letter on the website or something, at some point to say, help us. We want to be able to help you all in an emergent situation, but to Carl's credit, he acts as a lighthouse for us a lot of the time when he calls. People go in ahead of us and find.
Right.
I wonder if we could at least make copies of the form. I've got a blank form and bring them down to the town office and leave them.
Right on the desk,
or
yeah.
something.
Sure.
We can take a picture of our sign and bring it down so people can get a visual for what it looks like.
Not to mention the selectmen should be taking the lead on this.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a sign, but it doesn't have any illumination.
Reflective.
So it's not in compliance
Red
with the,
and white works pretty well as
Yeah.
far as illumination.
right. Well, it's probably got that luminous paint on there, right? It's compliant. It's compliant.
It's compliant. You pick it right out.
That's the key. All right.
Have to get me one.
And so you fill out a form.
Fill out a form, get out of the fire department, he's there during the day from, I think, 8 to 3:30.
And you have a copy of the form?
I could.
Yeah,
Could you
please.
Scan it and send it to Julie?
And get it on e-news anyways, we put it on e-news. so people-
Yeah. And then we could say,
Let me make sure Pat's not overwhelmed, he loves to be overwhelmed.
huh,
Yeah, I know, I gotta watch
forms
out for that.
available. Oh, brother.
If this is, not to take anything away from Bartlett, but if this is something that it sounds like they're Pleasant, Jackson Fire did the same thing.
Right.
I'm sure that it's gotta be, yeah, I'm sure that the same deal is gonna be available for
We can
Jackson.
work on it, we get it. Get
Yeah.
it rectified. But like I say, from my point of view, try to find places in the middle of the night and stand here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it during the day on, me going out, look, not every building is, new construction. Some of them, some of them are fine.
In another town, in another place, when people bought or sold a house, that they were sometimes forced to be compliant with things like smoke detectors
Yeah.
and number systems. And I understand my friend Mr. Lockhart's desire to minimize regulation, but this is sort of a life safety thing. It might be something that we might consider in the future. You couldn't close a piece of property in another state that I know of unless you produce a certificate from the local fire marshal that your smoke detectors work and your 911 number is out. Don't want to create more legislation and live, freeze, and die world, but
Wouldn't it be appropriate to, in order to sign off on a building permit or permit of occupancy, to make sure that there's a compliant sign up?
Yeah.
in transferring real estate, it works pretty well because you clean up the backlog.
I mean, that's only 40 a year, but I'm saying even the guy that wants to put on the deck.
Right, yeah. I think that's perfect.
And we might, if you want, we can.
I mean, it's a life safety code, so I mean, that would be right up his alley.
We're going to be discussing that potentially in the future. We might carry out that.
Well, we do smoke detectors just as a matter of course now. So, and that's all part of our building permit. So, and the selectmen have the ability to change the building permit whenever they want. So if we wanted to add that as a line item, that, in order to obtain a building permit, this must happen. It's a pretty easy thing to enforce.
I have no problem with that.
I don't either. I think that's a good idea. Can you add dog license to it?
Not if I did attack the dog that tackled you. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. I try not to get shot going on. This wouldn't help. Can I see your dog license, please?
You can have a checklist.
Oh, gosh, oh, please.
Yeah, here comes Chuck.
All right. That was a good one, though.
I think I think that could be a start anyway.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of putting out the building permit thing.
Just out of curiosity, when you say you put it on the building permit, is that you must have that number posted before you get the building permit?
Or you would get the
Otherwise, you'll
certificate of
never get it
occupancy.
up, is my question.
Right,
Okay.
no, so.
The CO.
On our certificate of occupancy, we would do that, but on the building permit, on that front sheet, it does spell out that we have to have, updated smoke detection, to current codes. So I think that's a pretty innocuous thing to add.
Okay,
you know?
all right. I was just, if you don't
And we
if you
just-
don't have it up, it'll never get up.
And it'll
so.
be just something that I look for on.
Yeah,
that
that's
side.
great. That's great. Yes?
Quick question, the form from the Bartlett Fire Department, or Pat or Jay, whoever decides to do that, is that something that could be attached to the e-news so that someone can just
I imagine, yeah.
put it
Sure.
on the website?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I can put together a letter exhorting the population to properly number their houses
Well,
and attach them.
A form to it.
It's a
Yeah.
great
Or
start.
why not add the, so if you put a letter on there, add the form to our forms, where you get the building permit application, so someone looking for forms can find it,
Okay.
On the
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
I've got a feeling they're made somewhere down south where there's a fence around the place. That's right.
Keep the dogs in or out?
Dogs,
They're all licensed.
keep dogs out.
thank you.
Avatar.
That was actually discussed last time, and you guys
Signed it.
signed it, and so it's just kind of confirmation that it's been signed and done.
All right. And last one, but not least, is the electioneering. What do we got here? Approved is the yellow shaded area. Oh, this is you writing, right?
That's my handwriting.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I recognize
And,
that.
that's the note I left for Julie. I
That was
attended
that
the
area.
last, most recent school board meeting because we had a sketch that came here that showed and gave us the impression that the school board had kind of altered what we thought was an agreed-upon area for the school board to have for an electioneering zone, and the school board, I attended the meeting to look for clarification on that, because that sketch that Peter Malley had brought that day had new information to me. I was not aware of any kind of amendment to that. And the school board was able to confirm that they had never approved that area in front on their electioneering policy, that their electioneering policy, and then I brought a copy of that, basically confirmed that it was the green shaded area only that the school board was supporting for electioneering to take place.
And they said, they're okay?
They had their second reading of that policy, and now, and that shows the policy there that John's got in his left hand.
Right.
That's the policy that describes where it is, and then there's an attached document to that official policy also. So they finished up with it in July.
Here it is.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It says August 19th was a revised adopted,
Okay. Yeah.
so.
August.
Did you see the letter from Peter?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
I thought that was very well written.
Yeah. So that's the school board, that's the school district's position on electioneering at that facility.
Okay, good, we got that cleared up.
Yeah.
Anything else for old business?
I have
New
one
business?
from
Any business?
New business. This, I think you're all, I don't think you're aware of, but we had talked about the fact that the police department can hear every move that we make
Oh, yeah.
downstairs, and so there was a thought of getting our office area carpeted with some foam padding, and we do have a line item, equipment repairs and purchases, which is not exactly that, but we do have money in there that we could pursue this for this year, if you guys think that's a good idea, and I think that
Don't go there, don't say that. Have you seen it?
Yeah, and
I haven't seen it, but
think
I've heard the discussion about it.
I wanted to bring that up and forgot, didn't I? Was I gonna bring that up?
you said bring it up.
Yeah, okay, I told you, okay, good. Yeah, I didn't forget.
And Doug confirmed it today, that it's pretty
Right.
tacky, you know, popcorn going up. Maybe it's the shoes, we get just sneakers,
I
how
don't
about?
have.
The last thing is the chairs. We go around.
Chairs move, yeah, it happens at school all the time, you can hear it downstairs.
Right.
Yep.
Well, we've known for a while, it's not much sound insulation.
Is there no insulation in that floor system?
Probably not in the basement, no.
I don't think so. I've been in that basement. I don't think there's any insulation up under
Yeah, I don't
those
think there's any
rafters.
below us. I was wondering about the police station.
Mm.
That might be something to consider.
Soundproofing a little bit with the insulation. So $995
Yeah,
plus Doug's discount he's gonna get for him.
yes, exactly.
Any discussion?
I'm not against it, I'm just curious if that's the answer, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, after Andy's,
I mean, does Jay, you guys say that's the way to do it, and that's okay, or?
you.
They're just
Yeah,
citizens.
yeah, so I'm not sure that, a carpet is going to, commercial carpeting generally isn't very thickly padded because we've got to roll furniture, move things on it.
Walking, a lot of traffic.
Right, so it usually doesn't have a heavy pad. So it might make more sense to look at this as what do we do underneath?
I can't even remember, Andy, is that a hung ceiling?
I don't know if it is or not.
I think
We can
it's
check
open.
pretty quickly. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's a drop ceiling, it's really pretty easy
Yeah,
to
right.
insulate that.
Smooth panel, take a look.
We have a decorative reason as well.
Yeah, the only, okay, I'm sorry, the only way to handle this is by carpet. Yeah, oops.
My only question was, is it gonna solve the problem?
Yeah,
Right.
that's the thing, right?
Entirely.
Well, it's not the sound of the wheels that they spawn across the floor.
There you go.
Which is the main sound that I hear when I'm there, but
Yeah, you hear it a lot down there? Yeah.
it's pretty bad.
We have an expert witness.
I mean, what are we talking to insulate that? I mean, it's not, how big is this?
That-
30 by,
Yes, oh, yes.
30 by 30?
I need more to insulate than it's, yeah. Martha, would you please strike my previous comments? Yeah. I have to work with Julie Squared. I think carpet's wonderful. A nice shag would be lovely. Eggs.
Well, but the point is, good, that we could end up having that carpeting installed and not having it address the sound issue. I'm just wondering if maybe we appropriate a certain amount of money and that would seem reasonable to also cover a couple of rolls of insulation to stuff up in there, which isn't that big of a deal.
Make sure it's fixed.
Yeah,
I think probably both would be necessary.
I mean, for the size of that office, there's no way it costs you more than a couple $100 to stuff some insulation
Yeah,
up
the
in there.
installation's pretty expensive.
So if we appropriated $1,200.
But it's actually these
what's in
two
the budget?
offices too. I mean,
In
you know,
that budget is 1,500.
Right, okay.
Yeah, you're right. See, that's the meanness. I think you're talking about the whole floor.
yeah, they're talking about these two
Yeah.
offices. here.
Sure, everything on the other side of the
Wall.
hallway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think those guys said it's our office that is the most bothersome, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, back there would be above the basement, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think,
so it's just really
yeah.
our
I
spot.
think you might be
Even
right
less
about
than.
that. If we appropriated $1,200 to take care of the insulation issue, the sound insulation issue, that should cover
Is
it.
that something Jay might want to,
Well, I think
you know, tackle?
those boys could put the,
Be a
Yeah,
half a day
insulation.
work, I would think.
yeah, right.
Why don't we try the insulation first? It's a cheaper way to go and see if it works.
Is that your pleasure? I'll talk to Jay.
No?
I think it's a great idea, Andy, do the installation first. He brought it up, so.
You're in trouble.
I'm sorry, Julie, the filter just is not engaged.
I mean, it can't be much money. If it doesn't work, we can throw the carpet in anyways, but, you know, we can get some like those, kind of like walkway carpets, you know what I'm saying? It might be a little, I don't know. Just throwing it out there, I
I'll
guess.
talk to Jay, see if he's
All
got
right.
some opportunities coming up here in the next couple of weeks to put some insulation up there in between the floor
Floor and
joists.
ceiling.
And,
Now that, yeah, I'm sorry. It would be pretty easy to make a call to quality installation or superior installation because often these guys
you know,
can
that's right.
install it
I remember that.
faster and cheaper than you can go to Home Depot and buy the installation for. They're buying such volume of it, it might be worth making that call.
I mean, it's not pressing, it's not this.
Tom said he'd be happy to do that. He might just be quiet.
Why don't we pursue that and see what happens? I mean, it's not imperative that we do this on today's meeting, I don't think.
All right, yeah.
That's for that meeting.
I'll have Jay come up with some measurements and I'll contact quality.
All right.
See what they've got for an estimate and then report back at the next meeting. Action
Very
item.
Yep, I got it.
All righty. Anything else? Public comments? Tomas?
Two quick things, that hazardous mitigation plan is ready to be reviewed. I think you got an email on it today, Bill.
I went through email. I didn't,
It's a plan that was put together as part of the emergency operations.
I went through email before I came to this meeting and I didn't see it.
Okay, well, I can forward to you the name, Julie.
do it again, because I looked at the email right before it came, wasn't in there then.
All right, she sent it out a couple of
I can
weekends.
forward that.
Okay.
Jay's got to review it, I've already reviewed it, the chief's got to, Lisa's got to review it, and anybody else who was perhaps
Right,
involved with this
I'll be
formulation
glad to review it, I just
for
haven't seen it.
typos and stuff like that, so it can be submitted to FEMA for
Okay.
approval.
Okay?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Anything else?
You know, I just let you all know that we had an MCI drill type thing at Black Mountain last week, and it went pretty well, opened a lot of people's eyes. Some confusion, but it was quickly delayed. And the MCI trailer is now parked over at,
That's what I was going to ask you, if that's back over there now, then
it's in there, and it's all.
got to use that during the drill.
We used it during the drill, we found out that after 10 years, pens inside of it, the ink is dried out. There are other issues with it, things that we have to talk to the state about getting them fixed.
Right.
And, I'm sorry, where did you say it was parked?
It's inside the Grace Inn property,
Down here.
next to the American Red Cross trailer, so everybody's happy.
Great.
After talking to American,
Okay.
hopefully it'll stay there.
Right.
We did haul it out and use it for a drill, just so everybody knew about it.
Good. It's glad to see it get used.
Yeah.
Checked out.
We have a nice video if you
I saw it, that was great.
forward to you guys, either if you want to see it.
Anything else on public comments? Again, I'd like to thank the fire department for a great job they did last week.
Right.
You know, it's not a job I would particularly be very good at, but really is appreciative for all the things those guys and girls do, men and women. You know, it was quite a feat over there, I can imagine. And dangerous too, with the water. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on there that can happen. Not good. That being said, anybody take a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're going to a non-public meeting. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate your input.
You can have that.
Okay.
Was this all safe?
Yep.